I'm going to teach you how to make my Japanese sausage curry. Well, it's not really Japanese, but I'm using Japanese curry. Got this stuff here, Japanese curry mix. I'm going to stick these veggies in it and this sausage. Right, first thing I'm going to do is cut the onion and start cooking that. Onions can make you cry. I have a little bit of a trick. It doesn't work for all onions, but it works for most onions. Is soak it in water first, okay? I've already washed all the vegetables, but let's just give it a bit more water so we don't end up crying. Okay. Now that it's wet, it's a lot easier to deal with, and I can literally just peel off the skin. Just peel off the outer layer. Sometimes it'll just come off in your hands like this, or I find it easier sometimes just to cut the ends off. Now a lot of people say don't cut the ends off, then you start crying, but I found that if you wash it and then cut it off and then quickly peel it, that it's not too bad. It actually doesn't spray out at you and make you want to cry. Now, the other thing just to keep on top of it is obviously just give it another quick wash. Now my curry, I want to have like not nice big chunky vegetables, so even with the onion, I'm just going to do it in some big pieces, right? So I'm just going to sort of cut it into sort of quartery chunks like this, right? And then we're just going to chop those into half as well. Because we don't need to make like little tiny pieces, we just want bigger chunks. And then let's put these in the pot. So I can just use my fingers and just sort of pull it apart, see like this? See, just get these big chunks and just chuck them in. Right, so again, very easy, just pull it apart. Just pull it apart, see? Then you have these nice big chunks like this. So when we put it into the pot, it's nice and big and easy. Because later on when we cook it up, it's all going to get all soft and moist, and it's nice to have some sort of bigger pieces of vegetables to play with. And no tears, not crying. Why? Because I washed it and I put a bit more water on it. And like I said, it doesn't work with all onions. There are some onions that are just, no matter what you do, they're going to make you cry. But I found that this is the best way to deal with this. Now, so here's my onions, and I'm just going to get them onto the. So I've got a little bit of olive oil here. Let's just pour some of that in, and let's turn this up. I'm going to do all of this just with this one induction heater here. That's it. So if I can do it, anybody can do it. All right. So I've got my onions in there, and that's going to start cooking up with a little bit of oil. Now, while that's happening, I'm going to put the sausages in there as well. Now, sausages I've taken out of the pack, but I need to cut them up. So rather than use a knife, I find the best way is to use a pair of scissors. And I'm going to keep it on the plate because I don't want to use raw meat on my cutting board. So I'll just sort of chop them up like this. And then each one, literally just cut the sausages up like this. I find using scissors so much faster than trying to do this with a knife. All right, so just quickly, and then you get nice big chunks. Like that, there's two. While we're cooking the sausages and the onions, all right, so we'll just quickly do the rest. Now we don't need to fry them for too long. I just like to fry it to give a little bit of brown onto the sausages and the onions. But then we're going to put some water in here and start cooking things in a minute. And right, there's my sausages. Okay. Just get this out of the way. Okay. Can give that a bit of a stir. Now that it's sort of starting to cook, what we want to do is get our vegetables ready. Now, it's really important to wash your vegetables because no matter where they come from, most of the places are using pesticides. So you need to get yourself like a good veggie wash or something like this, give them a spray, let it soak for a little while and then wash them. Because a lot of people think, oh, you just cook it and the germs go away. Well, I'm not talking about germs, I'm talking about chemicals, pesticides. You need to wash it off. Right, so let's peel our carrots. Right, there's one. Two done like that. How's this looking? Okay, so we can turn him off for a minute. Just like the sausages, I want nice big pieces of my carrots and everything else I'm doing. So let's just chop off the end bits. Oh, we don't want that. Okay. And then we'll do some nice big chunky bits like this. If you think it's too big, then cut it in half. Doesn't matter. Whatever you like. Alright, get some carrot in there. Okay. The great thing about cooking is that you can't do it wrong. You put the things in there that you like to eat, and then eating. Right, so there's my carrots. Right, the next thing I'm going to chuck in there is my pumpkin. I love big pumpkin. Right, again, I've also washed this as well because you just never know, right? I mean, and also it's been handled at the supermarket. They've wrapped it up, they've cut it into pieces. You know how many people have touched it. Just make sure you wash these things. Okay. Yeah, cut that bit off. I love pumpkin, so I generally put heaps of pumpkin in everything I cook. One of my favourite vegetables. Either pumpkin or sweet potatoes, another good one you can use. So I'm just sort of cutting off the skin here. Don't need these bits. Obviously, got to be a little bit careful with a knife, otherwise you'll end up one less finger. But we don't want to have that. Now, the reason I'm doing it this way will make sense in a second, but I'm putting all my vegetables in there, and then after I've done this, I'm going to add water. But I only want to add as much water as I need for the amount of vegetables that I'm putting in the pot. If that makes sense. All right? So I've got my pumpkin here. So again, just nice big chunks. This is not a fashion show. It doesn't matter whether it's pretty or not. Right. About this size, I reckon. Let's chop that. Bang. I love pumpkin. Pumpkin's awesome. Right. Probably got enough pumpkin there now. Right, so I'll just keep this to the side for later. Another thing I love is to use these capsicums and things like that. Now, there's different ways of doing that. I don't know what the official proper way is to cut a capsicum, but I've sort of figured out that if I sort of cut it from the top like this, see that? I sort of cut all around the top, and then when I open it, I get most of the seeds in one go. There's a few inside, but then I can just get the rest out in the sink. So I can just sort of pour some water into it. So now that's got most of the seeds out of there. So now if I just tear it open, see, all the seeds are gone. And now it makes it really easy to use. So I can just sort of cut the, I don't like the white bits, so I cut those off, but it depends, up to you. You can chuck them in if you like. There's certainly nothing wrong with it. You know, and then I just sort of cut reasonable sized pieces. Red ones in there. See, the great thing about a dish like this, it doesn't actually matter really what you put in there. These are just the things I like to put in. You can put in anything you like. It doesn't matter at all. You know, it's up to your own taste or whatever happens to be in the fridge right now, right? Right, put them in there. Same one with the yellow one. Right, so again, we just chop the top off. Okay, a little bit of seed steel in there. So the other way to do it also is to just sort of cut it in half, but I just try not to do that because then, you know, I can end up with seeds all over the table. So that's why I generally bring it to the sink to do the washing first. There we go. So let's just cut these bits up. It's a bit brown. Let's take that out. Do this. Oh, it just smells awesome. You know, the great thing about this as well is it's full of vitamin C. The way I'm going to cook it, I'm probably going to kill all the vitamins, to be honest. But I love it. It's yummy. Ta-da! Finished. Right, now that just leaves the beans. Okay, well, again, I've washed these as well. You know, people like to say you've got to sort of de-string them and things like that. I found the ones that I get here don't usually have the strings on them to pull off. So I just sort of cut the ends off first. I find it's easier to get them out of the way first because they're all different lengths. Right, and then it makes it really easy to then just sort of cut them into nice chunky bits. Right, go. And I think we'll cut some more because it's always good to have lots of green stuff in your food, isn't it? Supposedly the green stuff is healthy. Right, those bits can go in. Right, so I think that pot is pretty full. So let's get rid of this stuff out of the way. And we don't need these, we can keep these for another time. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'll clean up in a second, but first thing I need to do is put some water in here and get this boiling. I have a water filter machine, but you can use whatever water you like. Okay, that's about 3/4 full of water now. Right. There we go. Right. Okay, and because we're boiling it, we should put the lid on it so we can get it all happening a lot quicker. Lid. Okay, so let's get that started. Clean this up a little bit. All right, so that's going. So we need one more thing. Yeah, this is not for the curry, this is for me. Ooh. These are boiling. That's what you want. Okay, once it starts boiling, you sort of turn down the heat a little bit so it doesn't end up splashing everywhere. You'll know it's ready when the pumpkin is soft enough to stick a fork into. Fork. So look around in here, where's the pumpkin? No, see? It's still hard. So it means I've still got to cook it a bit longer. So let's just stick the lid on and have some more wine. Let's give it a bit of a stir. Look at the colours. I just love the colours. The pumpkin and the capsicum and the beans just look awesome. Yeah, and the sausages are in there as well. There's one there. Look at that. Look at that colour. Let's see. Are you ready yet? I don't think so. Yeah, it's still hard. So, see these bits here? Still very hard. So, and the carrots as well. So usually the carrots and the pumpkin are what are going to tell you whether you've cooked enough or not. Okay, put the lid back on. A little bit longer. So while that's cooking, I'm just going to put this stuff away. I find the easiest way, just use a Ziploc bag. Put your veggies in there. As long as they're not wet, you can keep them like this. But there's another trick. If they are a little bit wet, and I did wash them, so there might be a little bit of moisture on there, the trick is put a little bit of paper towel in the bag, like this. Seal the bag up. That way, if there's any moisture in here, paper towel's going to take it up, and then your boiled veggies are not going to go and get all soft on you. So it's a good way to keep it. Thanks, stick this back in the fridge. Okay, we're getting there. Probably boiling a bit too much, so I'm just going to turn it down just a little bit so I can keep it cooking but less volcano. Now we're starting to get nice and soft, especially the pumpkin. If I stick it with a fork, ow! Stop it. There we go. Yeah, so not quite, almost. It goes just a little bit, not all the way through. So you want it just to be like, oh, go through and it's like butter, and then you know you're ready. Okay, put the lid on, just a bit longer. Ah, look at that. Right through. Okay, so I think we're good now. So, what we need to do now is add the Japanese curry. Remember this box? Now, there are actually different colours in the supermarket. I noticed this one says hot. There's also mild, which I think is an orange colour box. Choose whichever one you think is better. But they come in sort of these little satchels here. So, what you do is you peel off the sides. And you're presented with this thing, which kind of looks a bit weird. And it's probably full of evil stuff, which is why it tastes so good. So I wouldn't suggest putting the whole thing in this pot. Okay? What I generally do is maybe use half. So you see, it kind of looks like a big chocolate block. Just sort of snap it in half, keep half of it, and let's take these two and put them in here. This one we're going to keep for next week. Right? So let's take one of our handy Ziploc bags and keep this one in the fridge for next time. This can throw away. Right, so what's going to happen now is that these little curry cubes are going to melt into our pot and amongst all of our veggies and our sausages, and it's just going to make it awesome. Look at this. And of course, I'm making a mess. Doesn't matter. As long as you clean up, no one will know. Look at that. Oh, and the smell. Oh, I wish I could give you the smell. It's awesome. I love it. Now, the veggies are cooked, so we don't have to like boil it really heavily anymore. So generally I'll just turn it down a little bit and just sort of let it just simmer for a little while, because all you really want to happen now is all that curry to sort of just mix in with all the vegetables and especially soak into the sausages and just sort of get mixed together really nicely. So just turn the heat down, lift the lid on, let it sit for a bit longer. Oh, look at that, that's awesome. Just need some rice now and we're done. Alright, there's my rice. Now let's just take some of this. I can turn the pot off now. Oh, look at this. Yum. Look at that. Japanese curry rice with sausage, pumpkin, beans, carrot, and capsicum. Awesome. One of my favourite things. It makes me feel good. Awesome. Mine.